The postgame of Pokémon Gold and Silver is outlandish. It's iconic. We haven't had anything quite at that relative scale since, so I thought I'd take another look. Last week I uploaded a retrospective of Pokémon Gold and Silver, but we closed that off after the first roll of the credits. So let's fire the game back up, dive back in, and have an amble through everything the postgame throws at us in Generation 2. As expected, we load back into the game to find ourselves back at home. In front of the house though. I feel like in most games we load back into our bedroom. These ones don't. Nothing big, just interesting. Anyway, we're immediately called to Professor Elm's lab, where he presents us with a ticket to the SS Aqua, which is currently docked in Olivine City. Okay, what's this then? Some sort of post-game battling thing? It is, kinda. There are a lot of battles to have here. The trainers aren't that strong. It's a shorter trip than I remember from back in the day actually. I remember it taking a lot longer, but that could have been my kid brain taking ages to figure out the whole little girl captain's cabin quest. But it is the destination we're really interested in, because the SS Aqua takes us to the Kanto region. What? I mean, it isn't the first time we're hearing of it, or the first time we technically set foot in Kanto. When we surf across from New Barktown on our way to the Pokemon League, we're actually told by an NPC that we just took our first steps into Kanto. And when we look at our map, there it is. I am being genuine though when I say that as a kid playing these games, I did not think we'd be going to the actual full region until we got off the SS Aqua in Vermilion City. So I was so giddy when we did. I remember it was like 2 AM, I was having a sleepover at my friend's house, and I got pretty much no sleep that night, because I just wanted to explore. These games contain a whole nother region within them. From what I've heard, it wasn't an easy thing to do either with the data constraints of the time. But yeah, we get to explore the Kanto region. A whole in-game 3 years since the events of Pokemon Red and Blue. And some things have changed. Many of those things to conform with the limited storage they were dealing with, no doubt. Things like the Safari Zone being closed, Viridian Forest being a skeleton of what it was in Gen 1. They squeezed Kanto in here, but some sacrifices clearly had to be made. The main thing to do here is go around all the gyms in Kanto and collect their badges, which is a great little nostalgia trip for anyone who played Red, Blue and Yellow. The gym puzzles are largely the same as in Gen 1, the gym leaders all have updated teams, they're about on par with the strength of the Elite Four, which makes sense I guess seeing as we just defeated the Elite Four. At the same time though, if I wanted to be annoying, I could ask why some of the Kanto gym leaders have stronger teams than the so-called elite trainers of the region. But it makes sense overall to not have a level drop in the post-game, you know? I do find it interesting that the Pokemon encounters in the post-game here stay consistent with the levels of the Pokemon Red and Blue games. Maybe that's just to keep the region feeling authentic, rather than having a level 40 Rattata on Route 1. The trainers on Route 1, for example, though, are strong, so it does feel a little weird. I'm encountering a level 3 Pidgey, then 5 steps later I'm battling a trainer with a level 31 Electabuzz. On first glance, it kinda seems like the region doesn't have a lot of life to it. To be fair, Kanto is in the midst of peaceful times when we visit here. Red successfully took down Team Rocket 3 years ago. Well, 90% of it. He left a few crumbs for us to snack on. But there is some stuff here that makes the world feel active. We're tasked with recovering and returning a machine part from the power plant, which ends up being in Cerulean Gym. As we walk in, what looks to be a Team Rocket grunt runs into us, tells us we saw nothing, and scurries away with a farewell of "bye bye a go-go," which is a phrase I 100% need to integrate into my vocabulary. Why haven't we mass adopted this phrase as a fandom? It's so good. The machine part is in the water here, so I'm not entirely sure how it still works after we return it, but yeah, I'm being that guy again. Also, this gym is empty until we go back up Nugget Bridge, which still has its trainers by the way, but up at the top now, they replace the extra trainers that are usually up there, another storage issue I can only guess, and find Misty on a date of all things. And apparently this dude isn't too keen on being seen with Misty, because he bolts as soon as he senses our presence. So we ruin the date, but at least we get to battle for the badge now. There's a little fetch quest for a Pokédoll you can do in Saffron/Vermilion City. This girl here lost her doll. Retrieve it from the Pokemon fan club, and as a reward, she gives you her unlimited use rail card for the Magnet Train. a train that runs between Saffron City and Goldenrod City. And also the magnet train doesn't work until you've retrieved that machine part for the power plant I mentioned earlier. So it all connects. And that's good, it gives a sense of narrative here. There's still side quests, obviously, but it isn't all just running around randomly in a picture-perfect, peaceful Kanto. In fact, it's much less than picture-perfect, as one of its locations has quite literally been destroyed. Head on down to Cinnabar Island and you'll see that it's basically not there anymore. It's a Pokemon Center on a thin sliver of land. The volcano here erupted at some point. And now I feel really bad for the comment in my Red and Blue video where I said I wish Blaine's gym was inside the volcano. If it had been, Blaine may well have not been with us in these games. Thankfully, he is though. He's okay. But he's had to move all the way out to the Seafoam Islands, nestled in this tiny cave here. I feel so bad for Blaine. This is the best the Pokemon League establishment could do. Fair play to him for soldiering on with his duties as gym leader though. What a trooper. Most of the locations are true to their counterparts in Red and Blue though, including Dark Cave, which is just as dark as ever. I am not relearning Flash for this, I'll go around the other way. In a cave I can see inside, Mount Moon, we once again run into our rival Silver, and he engages us in another battle, convinced that he's finally cracked the code to becoming a top trainer. But of course he loses like always. This loss appears to be the trigger that finally sets him on the right path though, because we can battle him again on a Monday or a Wednesday at the Indigo Plateau. And if you have a keen eye for detail, you'll notice that when we battle him here, his Golbat has now evolved into a Crobat. This is significant because this is a friendship evolution, showing that Silver is finally treating his Pokemon well. He's finally learned the errors of his ways, and it reflects in this battle, because he has a very strong team now. So that's a great, subtle way to close out Silver's character arc in these games. After having a good look around and collecting all 8 gym badges, the final one for me being Viridian Cities, where Blue, the rival from the Gen 1 games, is now the gym leader, we can head down to Professor Oak's lab, where he'll reward us with permission to enter Mount Silver, a place where strong Pokemon roam, and only the best of the best are permitted to travel to. In reality, it's not all that impressive. It's a small outside area with a cave to the north. Oh my god. You know what, it's the end of the game, fine, let's relearn Flash. The Pokemon in Mount Silver are quite strong, granted, but it's nothing too intimidating, until you reach the summit, where a mysterious trainer is standing alone, facing away from us. It's Red, the protagonist from the Generation 1 games. He's been essentially missing for the last couple of years, and it turns out this is where he's been hiding, isolated in Mount Silver, training to get even stronger. He literally doesn't say a word to us when we interact with him. A couple of ellipses, and we're thrown into the biggest battle of the game, the ultimate test of our strength. I'd definitely forgotten how tanky and annoying his Snorlax is. That thing would not stop using rest. But we got past him in the end, and he still doesn't say anything. Just more ellipses and he teleports away, followed by another roll of credits. And that's where we close out. Obviously this is all bonus stuff you aren't required to do, so it's crazy to me that Game Freak went to all this effort to squeeze in a whole nother region just for entirely optional extra content. It was fantastic at the time though. If you played Red, Blue and Yellow, this was the ultimate callback. To see Kanto with a fresh coat of paint as well, given a bit more character, I probably doubled my in-game playtime just by running around the region and reminiscing, reliving old memories. And also having the other side of it, where you can see how the region moved on after the events of Gen 1. Big changes like the Cinnabar Island eruption I mentioned, Lavender Town's tower being turned into Kanto's own radio tower, showing the transition of this once eerie, haunting location into a more commercial area that people actually want to visit now. It was such a unique thing to do that hasn't been done since. We've never had a whole nother region added as postgame in any other generation. I hope we do at some point in the future though, because this honestly remains one of my greatest ever Pokemon game memories. Let me know what you thought of the Kanto postgame in Pokemon Gold and Silver. Drop a like, subscribe for more Pokemon videos, and bye bye a go-go. Yeah, actually, if you don't know what to comment, just comment bye bye a go-go.